Okay, sorry for the delay. I was trying to share on my Facebook thing in case anybody wanted to watch, but I can't figure it out. Anyways, we're back for part 2. What I was just leaving off at is when they decided to admit me on Friday. Dang it, now I lost my calendar again. Hold on. Not Friday. Friday is when I went to the movies and had the preeclampsia. It was Saturday, November 19th. And I was 36 weeks and 2 days. So on November 19th is when they admitted me. My BFF, Dr. Megan, came and she walked me around the hospital and tried to help me, and she was legit. She had a badge on that said care partner because Matt wasn't there yet. Because I told Matt, holy shit, they admitted me and I'm staying here now, and I hadn't brought a hospital bag. I hadn't done any of that because I thought I was just going to make sure I wasn't preeclamptic and then I was leaving. So I had sent him a whole list of like what all he needed to bring and what all he needed to do, and he had to get some of the kids' stuff together to take it to his mom, and so he had a lot of stuff to do. So Dr. Megan, who, if you didn't hear me before, that's my BFF, but she is also my doctor. So all my friends like to call her Dr. Megan, but she was wearing, not my OB doctor, my regular doctor. She wore a badge that said care partner, and she was legit like, took me to my labor and delivery room, like with the nurses, and sat in there while I got my epidural and all of the above. So she was like my right-hand man for a while, and I think a lot of people that were coming in for that first hour or two thought that we were just a really cute little lesbian couple together and we would be cute. Anyways, I think everyone thought that that was our like twin babies. So, I'm closing this now because I don't think I need it again. So 36 weeks, 1 day, I'm admitted. Both of my labors with my own kids went really fast and really easy. And this was twins, and I was already 7 centimeters, and I just kept thinking, like, this is going to go really fast. They're going to miss it. I want them to see it. But the doctor and the nurses had already been like, it's not good to stall it out or try to slow it down. It's better to just let things progress naturally and go in the speed that we would be going if we weren't trying to wait for the parents to get here. So, all of my other friends, like my 4 other best friends, got there. They came right after a wedding. They were all like still super dressed up and cute, and we sat in the room together for an hour or two, like taking bets on what time they were going to get there and how much they were going to weigh. So that was really, that was just a good like bonding time while we were kind of just sitting and waiting. They all left around 11:30, and the nurse kept being like, do you want to get your epidural? And I kept being like, I mean, I kind of just want to feel it. Like, it wasn't hurting that bad yet. I mean, I was having to like stop and in the middle of a conversation, like breathe. So I think my friends thought it was hurting a lot worse than it really was, but it was more just like I was just trying to like pace myself through it and breathe through it. And I kept being like, I just don't think I'm in enough pain to need epidural yet. And Megan was finally like, Brittany, you could all of a sudden be at a 10 and be delivering twins naturally, and do you really want to do that? And I was like, no, you're right. So I got my epidural at midnight. Matt got there my husband got there about 12:30. Megan went home to her 3 kids and husband. I fully believed that I was going to probably have the babies by like 5 a.m. maybe, 4 or 5 a.m. My OB came in about 1:30 and said, I would typically go ahead and break your water since you're 7, almost 8 centimeters now. But I have a girl down the hall that I think is going to turn into an emergency C-section situation, and I don't want to be end up with 2 not emergency C-section, but if she was emergency C-section and then she broke my water and all of a sudden I was ready to deliver twins, then that would have been bad. So she was like, I'm just going to go handle that. And then I'm going to come back to you around, I don't know, like 3 a.m. and we'll see where you're at if your water hasn't broken on its own yet. Hey, Megan! I love you. I'm finally telling my birth story. Finally. So she's like, try to get some sleep. See what happens. We'll come back in at 3 a.m. if nothing happens before then. So I try to go to sleep, which everyone that's ever been in labor in the middle of the night knows it's like you don't get sleep. Me too, Megan. Megan is a fellow Surro twin mama that's commenting right now, and we were pregnant at the same time, and I would always text her while I was in the bathtub because I took a bath every single night. Anyway, 3 a.m. rolls around and the nurse comes in and she checks me and I'm still the same. I'm still like 7.5, 8 centimeters. And she's like, I know this is when we planned on breaking your water, but another person just came in at like 10 centimeters and is ready to push. So literally, so there was the emergency C-section, then there was this girl, and then I was just kind of coasting anyways. Plus, I was really wanting the parents to get there for it. So I'm like, okay, I'll just try to sleep some more. That's fine. About 10 minutes later, my doctor came in and she's like, hey, I think she told you I'm got to go deliver this other baby. I'm going to come back in here at 5 a.m. And if you still haven't, we're going to break your water and give you Pitocin so we can just keep things moving. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Try to go to sleep. You know, you're in that like weird days where you're not really asleep, but you're not really awake. That's how I was for like the whole night. So then it gets to be like 5:30 and she hadn't come back in yet. And at 5:45, she comes running in there and she's like, girl, I did not notice on the schedule. I have a 6 a.m. scheduled C-section and a 7 a.m. scheduled C-section. They were already like, those people were like in the hospital, like ready for their scheduled delivery. And I was still just coasting along. So she's like, all right, I'm just gonna go do that. We're not gonna break your water, whatever. So then it's 8 a.m. next thing I know. And they're like, okay, we're coming back in 30 minutes. We're gonna break your water and we're gonna start you on the Pitocin. And I didn't have to have Pitocin with my daughter, but with my son, they started me on Pitocin and I had him 8 minutes later. So it literally, they just had to she just joked that she just had to breathe it on me and it made him come out. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's a done deal. As soon as they start the Pitocin, these babies are getting out and parents are going to miss it. Meanwhile, their mom had texted me and said that their flight was delayed 30 minutes. So they were supposed to get in at 11 and now it was going to be like 11:30. And I was like, oh my God, I felt like such a catch-22 because my contractions were getting a lot worse. I was feeling them even through the epidural, and I just wanted them to get out. But at the same time, I knew the parents were like so close, and I just really wanted them to see the birth of their babies. So I was just kind of like, whatever, I'm just giving it to God. Whatever happens was supposed to happen. So they start me on the Pitocin. They broke my water. My contractions got super crazy. But I still wasn't progressing past an 8. Like, it still was not time to push. By the time it got to be right around 11, they texted me that my brother picked them up for the airport and they were on their way there. So I knew they were like 30 minutes away. And my contractions were so bad that I was crying and crying and crying every time they came, and having to my mom and my sister-in-law were having to coach my breathing through them. So I was just like, oh my God, they're going to miss it by 10 minutes. We've come this whole time and they're going to miss it at the very end. The doctor came in. I was still an 8. Even with I feel like I was an 8 forever. It was like a curse. So next thing I know, the parents are walking through the door. And I was like, oh my gosh, it felt so surreal. They made it. I knew they were going to be in there to see the babies be born. We had already talked about that they got to come to the delivery room, to the operating room, because I had to deliver in the OR just in case I needed an emergency C-section. So I knew they were going to make it in to see the babies be born, and I was just so happy at that point. Even though I was in pain, I was like, yay, they made it to see their babies. So fast forward, just to save you from a whole bunch of annoying, like, then they checked me, then it was nothing, then they upped my Pitocin, then they upped my Pitocin, then they upped my Pitocin, then they, literally a million times. Finally, delivering vaginally in the OR was the most terrible thing. It wasn't that bad for me. It was just really cold. I remember I was freezing, but it happened so fast that I was only in there for like 10 minutes, I feel like. I don't know. It wasn't that bad. There was also people everywhere. I felt like there was 50 people in the room. It was crazy. So, fast forward. Next thing I know, they're telling me I'm complete at like 3:15. Yes, the bed was as big as it was. I told someone asked me about it, and I described it as a letter T. It was like skinny as a stick, and then it had a place for my arms to go out by my sides like that. And they just like moved my sheet over from my bed and plopped me onto the table. Yes, it was. So anyway, I got in there. They told me at 3:15 I was ready to push, and I was. She goes, just give me a little like grunt, like pretend push so I can see how close her head is. And I pretend pushed, and I remember I was like, oh my god, her head's out, her head's out, her head's out, her head's out. Like, it felt like something was out, like she was out. And she immediately was like, stop. And they were like still putting on gloves, and like this guy was trying to undo something on my epidural, and I was like, what are you doing? A baby's halfway out of me, like take me to the OR or get it out right now. Like, I was freaking out. And my mom was still in there, like my mom, my sister, like people were still in the room. My bed was wheeled like halfway out. It was just like chaos. And meanwhile, I'm like, hello, there is a head between my legs. Somebody get the baby out. And she's like, it's not. Really, she told me later that she had crowned, like the top of her head was sticking out, like the part where my hair is was sticking out. But it wasn't like her whole head was out. But I was still like, oh, she's out. So we get to the OR, and the whole time they were like moving my sheet over. Like trying to get everything else in the room situated, and I just remember being like, she is going to fall out, she is small, like somebody get her. So I get to the table. Finally, I will never forget, literally the doctor puts on one glove. I can't do it because I'm holding my phone. The second she snaps the other glove, she's like, all right, push. And she hadn't even got her hand down from getting the glove on to getting it down, and she just pulled her straight out. I mean, I literally was like, achoo, and she came out. Like, I clearly, obviously, a little bit part of her head was already out, but when I just barely pushed, she just came right out, and she was so sweet, and it happened so fast that I looked up behind me, and her parents didn't even, they were like talking to a nurse or something. Like, they thought they're still getting me situated. Like, it was crazy. So I'm like, Matt, and he like waves at them, and he's like, she's here. And then they were like, oh my god. And then they come running over, and they're like at her little bassinet with them, like whatever, checking her vitals and all of that stuff. And then I'm like, oh my god, this is the part that makes me nervous, because I've at this point had watched 1 million twin births on YouTube, 1 million twin delivery stories. I mean, I knew everything there was to know about twins, and I knew that vaginal twin deliveries, whether in the OR or not, can go south when you're waiting on the second one if they flip, or if you can't get them, or their placenta detached. Just so many different stories. So I was like, I all of a sudden got really nervous and was like, where is he? What's he doing? And she goes, he flipped. And I'm like, oh my god, which they had told me, if he flips, we can pull him out by his feet. They told me that it would be easier. Hold on, sorry, I feel like my nose is about to like drip on camera. Hold on. Sorry. This would be edited if I was not so lazy. But anyways, so she's like, he flipped. And right about the second she said that, I felt a very strong shove, which was her sticking her arm in me to catch his feet. Like, she said he, like, frog-legged up, so she had to, like, go up higher and grab him by the foot. And I guess she had his foot, and she was like, all right, push again. And exact same thing. I was like, and she pulled him up by his feet upside down like somebody hunting a rabbit. Like, I will never forget. He was just hanging there by his feet upside down like, crying. And I had no idea he would be born only 2 minutes after his sister. Like, I was prepared for like 10. I had heard stories of like 3 hours, which I was really not hoping for. But, you just never know if it's going to be like 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. So, again, his parents are watching the little girl get all her stuff. And I'm like, he's here. So then they turn around and see him just in time to be like hanging upside down, and the doctor to flip him back over and be like, he's great. And he's screaming. So they were both perfect. And then apart from being nervous about the second one coming, I was the most nervous about delivering the placentas, because there's horror stories there too. I'm not even going to tell you them. If you're watching this because you're pregnant with twins or you're having twins, just watch those on your own and know in your mind that those are few and far between. Most everything usually goes normal, but I was really scared I was going to like hemorrhage or whatever. So the whole time she's having to push really hard, and that hurt worse than pushing the twins out. It hurt worse her pressing all over my belly to deliver both placentas than it did to deliver them. But then that was that. And they were out, and they were with their parents. And I was thrilled, and we got to go to we got the suite, which there's only 2 of at our hospital, which meant I had a separate private bedroom and bathroom, and then they had a big, like, living room area. They didn't have a bed out there, but there's a pull-out couch, and actually the twins had to stay in the nursery overnight for 2 nights, so the parents could just go to their hotel and spend the night and then come back. Baby Ariana weighed 4 pounds 11 ounces. Baby Michael weighed 5 pounds 2 ounces. They did great. I got to get back to my room, and since I hadn't slept the night before, I was exhausted. Can't remember everything. It's kind of a blur, but I know my friends brought me dinner and I think a can of Bud Light Lime, like a beer. And we're like, congratulations, they're out, you're free. And I knew I was going to be pumping, but I was just like dead to the world at that point. So they brought me my painkiller and an Ambien, which was an amazing combination, at like 8 p.m. And I slept like the best I'd slept in, slept like a baby for the whole night. And then when I woke up the next day, I started pumping every 3 hours to stimulate. I ended up pumping breast milk for them for a month. That was my goal the whole time, just to get them up to their actual due date, which would have been December 14th. I wanted to at least get them there and start them with a good, healthy breast milk start. So I was pretty proud of myself for doing it. Night 2, I started getting like chest pains and feeling really shaky and weird, like you do on the epidural. And they decided it was because I was so anemic, so I had to get a blood transfusion. I got it the next day, and actually they were discharged before I was because of the blood transfusion. So I got to say bye to them, and I was still in the hospital, and I had one more full night of hospital sleep without my own kids and without them in there, and I was completely content to just be by myself with the great nurses that I had and just rest. So that's it. That's finally my birth story. I probably left some stuff out that I wanted to say, and there's probably more questions or things that I didn't answer, but I don't want to make this video like super long. I really do apologize again that I've been gone for so long. The babies are 7 months old. So their birthday was November 20th. I visited them on May 20th, which was their 6-month birthday, and it also was right before Mother's Day weekend, or right after Mother's Day? Right after Mother's Day weekend. And they're so sweet and so cute. And I promise, I'll do another video about my thoughts on surrogacy as a whole and things I would do differently or things I would keep the same. And overall, though, just my final thought of this video is that I set out to do surrogacy because it was something I always wanted to do since I was in 7th grade, and we matched with the perfect family, and we had the best journey. It was so great. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I loved all of it, even the hard parts, the ups and downs, all of it. I don't regret it at all. I would never change any of it. Twin pregnancy was a lot harder than I expected it to be if I ever did surrogacy again, which I don't plan on it. But if I ever did, I would only transfer one embryo just because twin pregnancy was hard. But I don't regret it. I'm so happy I did it. I feel fulfilled. I don't have any sort of missing them or longing for them. Actually, postpartum with both of my kids, I cried and cried and cried for like the first 2 months of their life, and I did not shed one tear. I didn't shed one tear after I had the babies. It was just like I was in that emotional state the whole time of these are not my kids. These are their kids, and I am the vessel, and I'm giving them back, and I don't want to go home with twins anyway. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, or then a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I just was disconnected from it in that regard. So everybody and their mom always wants to say, how'd you give the babies away? I didn't give them away. I gave them back to their parents. They were not related to me, and I loved it. I loved all of it. And the only way I would do surrogacy again if it was... Actually, I don't even want to say that. I don't know if I'll ever do it again. As of right now, I'm done. I'm done having babies for me. I'm done having babies for anybody else. I am just free as a bird, honey. So, all right, I'm done. My part 2 is long enough. Please, for real, leave questions or comments in the comment section, and I'll do another video soon. I edited those surrogacy vlog videos so much and like spent so much time because I was pregnant and all I could do was lay in bed and be on bed rest and couldn't do a lot of stuff. Now I'm back to my normal life again, so thinking about sitting down and editing one of those videos is just really daunting. But I can do these some more and I'll answer your questions. So thank you if you're even still watching this or following me or subscribed to me. I'm so sorry that it took me forever. That's my birth story. Thanks for watching.